Article 6. The Republic protects the minority languages with suitable laws. That's all of it. Now, first of all, why do we want to protect these minority languages? Because minority languages contain culture. They contain a way a culture sees the world and thinks, a mentality. This is diversity. We want to protect the pluralism of the difference in speaking, the different cultures. We want to maintain this diversity. If we think, that English people are very efficient and effective. We want that side of it, that aspect of our character, is important to us. Now, the language itself, English itself, is very efficient and effective. Also, the English like change. We change very quickly. Think of Brexit. Big radical change. We like this. And the language too changes very quickly. We're always getting new words, new ways of saying things, like stakeholder as an example. That's a new word. Sometimes I go to England and I don't know the word because, they've just popped up. People have started using these new words. Italian instead is quite preserved as a language, quite rooted in the past. It maintains its, its language without much change. Sometimes now we use a lot of English terms in the language to express ourselves in Italy. But generally the Italian language doesn't change. So also the Italian language is very expressive of emotions. They call it the language of love. It's we can look at the words themselves are very different. We use in Italian, you use a lot of words like resistance and rights and work and solidarity. In England, we use solidarity much less, and even it has different connotations. It has a more negative connotation. Solidarity means you're not independent, which is not so good. Even work has a different ring to it. In Italian, it's something noble, and in England, it's not. It's considered lower classes are workers. The richer, powerful classes like the Queen aren't workers. It's not got that noble sound. Yet the Queen is noble, we can say. And she doesn't work. So language really contains the way, the philosophy of a culture, and that is to be protected. Now, how can we protect that? We can protect that by maintaining the use of the language. That's how a language doesn't die, because it's used, it's communicated. If we think of dialect, if we don't use dialect and the young people don't hear it, they're not exposed to it, then they won't use it because they won't be able to use it, and it finishes there. So the only real way is to maintain it. So by protecting it, Italian is recognised as the official language of Italy. But to protect these minority languages, we must give permission to use these languages in the public sphere. For example, in Aosta, they use French which is the minority language protected in Aosta, in radio, in television, in the bureaucracy, in the road signs, in schools, to teach subjects in schools. They even recognise French degrees from universities on the Erasmus project. If you study in France in French, you come back, they recognise your degree. So this is the way, and they did this in the 60s. They wrote, remember, it says, la Repubblica tutela con apposite norme le minoranze linguistica. So they needed to write a law, and in the 60s they wrote this law. It's the Legge 482, written. What happened was 3 wise men went around Italy to try to understand what languages to protect, and there were 12. In the end they chose 12 because these 12 have historic links to the territory. They didn't, for example, choose Rom because Roms move and they don't have an historic link to a territory because they're always moving. So that was important to them, to show that in Aosta they're near France, so they've got this link, and historically they've used French in Aosta, so that they wanted to preserve that. In Sardinia, they use Sardo, and they showed that that was historically linked. And that's in that way we can maintain the enrichment of Italy. Italy is very enriched with culture and diversity, and that is another tool to use. In fascism, in the war, before the war, there was this idea of uniforming everything, and like the religion, the Hebrew religion was oppressed because it was different. This is another tool to really maintain that diversity and have an opposite policy, an opposite philosophy of the fascist.